Guys, rhetorical question. Of course, I already know the answer, but what is a great promoter? What is a great promotion? What is a great fight? What is a big fight? And I'm talking about prior to the match. I don't mean when it's done and we look at it and go, my goodness, fight of the night. Didn't see that coming. Great job. I mean, before the match, anticipation, what drives the business, what drives this industry forward. The answer to the question is storytelling. A great promoter is a great storyteller. A big fight is a fight that has a great story. There's nothing else about it. And sometimes you can do that on resumes. Sometimes you can say Olympic champion versus Olympic champion in different weight classes, and they're going to meet in the middle. Or the world champion here who's undefeated and the world champion here, right? Mike Tyson and Michael Spinks worked. They had beautiful records, 31-0, 29-0. Light heavyweight champion, world heavyweight champion. I mean, there's sometimes resumes work. That would be the first thing that somebody would think of, who would also have to put them into the bucket and category of being extremely uncreative. But it's the first thing that they would think of. It's not going to get you very far. But if you're putting on 1 or 2 events a year and you can bring in all of the right guys that everybody's just wanted to see this match because they're a purist, you can get away with it. You cannot be sustainable when you're doing a show a week. It wouldn't work that way, resume versus resume. I only bring that to you because I've watched the rewriting of history. I've watched it in front of my eyes. I watched Conor McGregor and Floyd Mayweather be rewritten by the press conference that same night, and it never got corrected. As dirty and corrupt as those judges were being, giving no rounds to Conor McGregor, there was absolutely no sanctioning and nothing behind it because ultimately it was stopped and nobody disputed it, and therefore the outcome wasn't in question, so the story can be whatever you want the story to be. I watched the fight of Conor McGregor and Dustin Poirier be completely rewritten, and it was only 2 weeks ago. Completely rewritten into being a competitive contest that warrants a 4th meeting. That is fiction. That is not what happened. But I've watched these things go down. Look, Macy Barber just took one over the weekend. And the general consensus, there was at least 20 fighters that I saw who came out on different social media platforms to say that Macy's opponent should have won that fight. Now, that's out of Macy's hands. That's out of her opponent's hands. And the question becomes, does it matter? Like, do you get marked down if you win a fight that you shouldn't have won? Will the matchmakers take that into consideration? And the answer is no. The rankings move right along. This is America, and the only thing that people think about is success. You can miss weight for a fight, lose the fight the next night. That's 2 strikes and be out of the company. You can miss weight, have the fight the next night, win, and move up in the ranking. And your opponent will move down. An unfair, unagreed upon contest can hurt the loser who went in with a contractually disputable deficit. I'm not making the rules. I'm not saying that I like these things. I'm sharing with you as an observer, this is the way that it works. I was in a, personalize this myself. I was in a fight. A guy named John Jones. And John's toe popped out of his skin. They didn't see this till after the fight, but if they would have seen this, the doctor would have been forced to stop the match. I would have been the champion of the world. Now, I was pummeled that night. As a matter of fact, the toe came out of the skin because he was digging in so hard to hit me even harder. That's the reality. That's what happened. If they would have put that belt around me, I would have taken it off. I would have held it over my head while holding the microphone, and I would have reminded everybody of the golden rule, which is he with the gold rules. And I would have walked out of there, and everybody would have forgotten what happened. I remember the night that Nick Diaz lost 25 straight minutes to Anderson Silva, grabbed the microphone with Joe Rogan and said, I thought I won every round. Got an absolutely standing ovation. I've watched history be rewritten. I've watched you, the viewing audience, not believe your lying eyes. It's okay. But it's part of the story. Now, I came from the other side of the tracks. I like the heels. I like the bad guys. But one of the heels and one of the bad guys that I learned from and observed and even studied is Scott Hall. And Scott Hall, professional wrestler, part of the NWO, teamed up with Kevin Nash. They have a lot of, in wrestling, what's called a house show, which means they do tapings every Monday Night Raw, or Thursday Night SmackDown. This is all rotten garbage. I do not encourage that you watch any of this anymore, but it used to be halfway good when I was 9 years old. In between those TV tapings, they did what's called a house show, meaning you must be in the house to see the show. There's no cameras. There's no television footage. Live gate only. So Scott Hall was touring around, taking on the same guy, and they drive up the interstate, and the next night they switch back and forth who won. And Scott Hall grabbed the microphone one night while on television, and he was just pinned by the guy 2 nights before in a house show that nobody saw. Scott Hall, in front of the world, grabbed the microphone and said that he pinned the guy. And they get into the back, and the guy's all upset, right? The guy's marking out for his own gimmick, going, Scott, how can you tell people you pinned me? I beat you. And Scott Hall said, I'm a heel, and heels lie. Now, I don't encourage you to take that approach. I'm sharing you some of the shtick that I did. Is kind of how I navigate it. That's not going to work for everybody, but the message is all the same. It's not about lying or heel or babyface. It's not about any of that. It's about your ability to tell a story. And I've watched guys, Conor McGregor, or what happened with Conor's night with Floyd, or Nick Diaz. I've watched guys in the moment rewrite history and convince you guys that your eyes lied. Nobody's wrong here. It's just important that you observe this. It does not matter if Macy should have won. She did win. I just saw Cody Garbrandt lay out a case for why he should fight Moreno. He started talking about a win he had over here and a loss he had over here and what he's doing better with training in his natural way. Cody, stop. Stop. You're a world champion. You're a world champion. He's a world champion. You're looking for an opponent. He needs an opponent. That's why you fight. Cody Garbrandt does not need to play the same game that everybody else does. Cody Garbrandt has different rules. It's much like what Luke Rockhold is going through right now. Doesn't matter what your ranking is. Doesn't matter how you did in your last fight. Guy brings a world title with him. The rules are different. Quit bringing up the losses. This is not a court of law. You don't have to put your facts forward and somebody else puts their facts forward. Let them put their story and you put your story.